What if you could double your income, but only work half as much? I don't know about you, but I would be down with that because we're all looking for more money and we're all looking for more time. My name is Kris Krohn, and today I'm going to share with you 3 principles that I've been living for a very long time that have allowed me to push my income higher and higher and higher, and at the same time, calendar less and less and less time. I'm excited to break it down for you, coming up next.
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
Working less and getting paid more is so my jam. There are so many things that are worthy of becoming expert in, and you can't do it all. But in time, you can work on pieces. And there was a time in my life when I worked on the game of leverage because I realized that I was working as hard as I could at my job, and I only made $18,000 that first year while I was in college. Now just think about that for a minute. $18,000 is not a lot of money. That's even half of the average amount of money that an American makes in this country. And yet, I was so excited about the accomplishment because it's more than I had ever made, right? I mean, I'm coming into my own first year in college. And so between going to college full-time and working my guts out and then working full-time, I mean, some of you watching this, you know what it's like to work that hard. That was kind of like leftovers from the previous generation, which is you have to work hard to become anything. And you know, I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this work hard thing. But then when I wanted to make more money, I thought, I'm out of time. I have no more time that I can trade. So I have to shift from working hard to now working what? Scrooge McDuck says, work smarter, not harder, right? How did I do that? Well, first of all, I set a goal to double my income that year because even if I doubled it, I'd be less than the average American's earnings. And that year I did double it. Now, for today's video, it's not important how I doubled it. I got some promotions and I worked it smarter and better and I got better at my job. But then because I had practiced that for a year, I decided to double it again and again and again. And it kept happening. You know, 50,000 became 100,000, 100,000 became 200,000, you know, eventually $250,000 became $500,000. And this kept going up until I realized that to double my income again would be to make $1 million. And I got freaking nervous because the idea of making $1 million in a year felt like I believed that I could do that in my asset increase, but I didn't really think that I could do that in like my active income. It just felt unrealistic. And sure enough, I did not double my income that year. I did not double it the year after, and I didn't double it the year after, and I didn't double it the year after. How did I double my income every single year and then it stopped? And it's because my belief would not allow it to be so. Well, guess what, my friend? For today's video, I'm going to share 3 principles with you that I use today to double my income, 3 principles that I used then, 3 principles that I hacked to figure out now, and I believe these principles are going to make a game-changing difference for you, so check it out. Number 1, you need to have the right opportunity. Whether we're talking about a career or a job or your own business, or maybe you're in sales, you've got to be in something where you have the ability to double your income. Do you have that? Because if you're locked in some job that is paying you hourly and they've determined your worth and you're like set in stone, this isn't going to work. I mean, for you to double your income, you've got to be working somewhere or with someone that believes that if you produce double the value, you should get paid twice as much. So number 1, let that boggle your mind. Number 2, you need to understand the principle of opportunity cost. Now, this is really big. I remember when I was taking my econ class in college, and I didn't understand this until it got put to me really simple. Opportunity cost means, what is the best thing you're missing out on because of the choice you're making? What is the next best thing you're missing out on because of the choice that you're making? Like, for example, people put their money all day long in 401ks and IRAs and annuities earning like 5% on their money. The next best thing they could be doing is putting into real estate earning 25%. That's 5 times more, right? So that's what opportunity cost means. It means, what am I missing out on that's better than what am I doing? And you've got to learn to think this way. There's like an art to learn how to think in terms of opportunity cost. The reason why this is an important principle is because I want you to, number 3 tip and principle is you got to have financial expectations. And you got to know how to measure them. You see, most of us, we have a financial barometer that tells us what we're worth. And if you know what you're worth, oh, when I do this activity, they pay me $22 an hour. When I do this activity, I make $50 an hour. But when I do this activity, I make $80 an hour. Opportunity cost is realizing that your time isn't equally dedicated to different things. This thing makes you more than that. So what you've got to learn how to do is two things. One, weigh out what's better and what's less, and you got to minimize what pays you less, and you got to maximize what pays you more. This is one of the things that will help you double the amount of money you make in half the time. The second thing is you've got to raise your financial bar by raising your expectations. That doesn't mean arbitrary raise your prices. Be like, well, I was charging $30 an hour for this and now it's $50. Listen, you have to deliver more value. You have to give more. You need more ingenuity. You've got to be able to give people more if you expect more, so that you're not some poser con artist out there just kind of working a system. It's not sustainable. You'll never be rewarded long term the way you want unless you can bring more value. So let's review what we're talking about here. The first principle is put yourself in an opportunity that if you provide twice the value, you can get twice the pay. If you don't have that, number one, you've got to be looking for that. It could be in your own business. It could be in someone else's business, entrepreneurship. The second thing is opportunity cost. You've got to learn to compare your opportunities and say which one pays me more. But number three, you've got to be able to say, wait a second, and I want you to get this. Human psychology is to look for opportunities to match our old opportunities. And this is the problem. We look for opportunities that match the old ones. That means it's like, well, I mean, this company's willing to pay me $42 an hour, so what I'm looking for is an opportunity that will pay me $42 an hour. What you should be doing is asking, how can I be worth double my current rate? By the way, I want you to write this question down and meditate every day on it. How can I be worth my current going rate? How can I be worth double my current going rate? You see, I played this game and it allowed me to keep finding new activities that would pay me more, new activities that would pay me more. But when I started blowing my income out of the water was when I dared say, how can I provide 10 times the value and get 10 times the pay? And the reality is, we as human beings, we are wired to grow. Like, we can train, we can learn new things, we can expose ourselves, we can get mentorship, we can get coaching, we can get better at our game, we can deliver more value, and we can get paid again. Most of us only understand that in terms of high school degree, college degree, graduate degree, because I think stats say that a college graduate earns double than a high school graduate. And if you go back for another year or two of school and get your MBA or your master's in something, then you can get maybe 10 or 20% more money. Like, we understand it to some extent. But I'm talking about blowing that out of the water and doing something ridiculous like, how do I double my income in half the time? These three principles are the principles that help me hack it. I've given you some questions today that I hope will drive you to the answer that you're searching for. I will drop one little nugget on you. One of the secrets to earning more with less time is learning how to clone yourself, but in strange ways. It's about leverage. I would come home at the end of the day and I had convinced my company, and by the way, I'm going to share with you how I got more value. When I had this job, I made $18,000 this first year, so in the next year, I found departments in the company that were understaffed, and I said, hey, if I can get all of this work done and meet and exceed expectations, can I have permission to also work over here and just build more value over here? You don't have to do anything. And they're like, what are they going to say? No. They said yes. And then 6 months later, I would go back and say, hey, do you remember how I've exceeded all expectations here, but then I took this on and now I brought it up to here? Will you give me a small piece of everything I'm creating over here? And you know what they said? Sure. I gave myself a raise. By the way, this is a hack. Know where you can create more value, get permission to create more value without more pay, create a track record of doing it, and then go back and ask for a raise. I went back to my company and said, hey, I've made you guys an extra $1.6 million with my pet project. Would you give me an override now of like 1% or like 0.5% or 0.25%? And guess what? That started basically helping me make more money. That's how you create more opportunities. So ultimately today, we are talking about put yourself in an opportunity where twice the value can make twice the money. Learn to start questioning the opportunity cost of what are my different activities valued at, so I can diminish the ones that pay less and expand the ones that pay more. And then the last thing is setting higher expectations, because nature abhors a vacuum. I want you to understand this. If you decide that you want to be worth 5 times more, then start looking for activities that are worthy of the value that you can provide at that. They will then be attracted to you. You find them. And at the end of the year, I hope you look back and say, Kris, I watched that video and guess what happened? I implemented it for a year. and I doubled my income, and I learned how to do it in half the time. You know, it's interesting how I got my biggest leverage in my life, ended up leveraging real estate. I would buy a house and it would basically work day and night and make money for me. Warren Buffett says that. He says if you can't find a way to make money while you sleep, you're gonna end up dead broke. And so I took it to heart and I started buying houses that would basically work for me. They each paid me $300, $400, $500 a month. The more that I got, the more money I made. And I found out how to work less and get paid a lot more. If you want to learn how to do that as well, click the link below. I have a brand new book. It's my track record on my last 4,000 deals. Click the link, you can get it for free. Just cover the shipping. It'll actually show you how I did it and certainly how you can do it as well as proof that I did it 4,000 times. So your journey to wealth and leverage just got that much faster. And I've also teed up a video right over here for you. It's about the 8 financial tasks that you should complete before you're 30 years old. Enjoy.